All right, so we're here with Daniel Keys. Actually the way that Jimmy wrote this down, it just said CEO of EOS, and I was always just going to go with that. It sort of cut off EOS Nation, block producer
That's right.
extraordinaire.
That's right.
But for the purposes of this intro and conversation, we'll just call you the CEO of EOS for now.
Well, I don't know if I could take. That's
it's a little big.
big.
Yeah, fair enough, right? Yeah, we had Yves LaRose on, a little while ago. He's talking about antelope and all that. I'd love to get your take on all that stuff. But
yeah,
it's been a while since we last talked. I mean, how are you? How you doing?
I'm awesome. Yeah, super exciting time for the EOS community, for the antelope community, for Pomelo. We just wrapped up season 3 of Pomelo and getting better and better every season.
That's awesome.
Our team is growing. The atmosphere in both within our team and within the community just keeps getting more and more positive. So yeah, really excited with how things are shaping up in the EOS community.
That's awesome. So is there any highlights from Pomelo that stood out to you from this season?
A few things. We're getting more and more participation every season. So this is our most well participated season of Pomelo yet. We approved more grants than ever. We had, I just got my stats up here, 172 grants that we approved in season 3, compared to, I think we had 140 in season 2 and something like 60 or 70 only in season 1. So every season we're getting more people applying. The quality of the grants are getting better. They're getting easier to approve. We're noticing this kind of, like, the community is learning. We're getting stronger at identifying public goods and at collaborating with each other.
Right.
And a really positive thing we're seeing is like building on top of what we did last season. So
right. So
a team takes something another team built last season and integrates it into what they're building this season, and just accelerates the pace of innovation and makes everything better for everybody.
It makes tons of sense, right? Like, because you're expressing, because we're noticing this, I think, in a small way, even with the Uplift DAO proposals, right? So like the first ones to go out, they're like, "Hey, do this," and everyone's like, you have to answer like these questions, like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Right? Like, we almost like develop a kind of protocol, and that protocol kind of expresses some core values, right? And what gets accepted, what gets sort of denied or ignored, frankly, really starts to educate people as to the kinds of things. So I can imagine, like, as anybody going for a grant now, I mean, the smartest thing to do is to go back and look at what got accepted, and you're going to have an instantaneous leg up, not on one season, but on 3 seasons now of proposals that got accepted, to kind of shorthand the kinds of things that you guys are looking for, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so we noticed, like, for example, in season 1, it was a lot of teams struggled getting approved, even because it's what is a public good? We're trying to narrow down onto that thing. It's kind of a foreign concept to the EOS community,
which is strange, right? So like when you say foreign good, can you unpack that for us, like, and maybe give us a specific example?
Sure. Well, I guess I don't know how specific I can, but I think, like, looking back at the history of EOS and the EOS community, we have this tendency to teams working in silos on their own things. There's this like competition among block producers. Everyone's trying to get votes, and so they're building things to get credit, to attract votes, and they're not sharing it as much as perhaps they could.
Right.
And the ENF comes along, and now there's a new source of revenue for not just block producers, but anybody who wants to build. And we've got Pomelo now, and one of the requirements of Pomelo is that the things you build are public goods, which means building more in the open, building more collaboratively, making the things that you build, oftentimes, it's not always open source, but oftentimes to qualify as a public good, it means, make your code open source and general purpose enough so that others can take that building block you built and put it into what they're building. So now there's actually an incentive for people to be more open and collaborative, whereas before the incentive was the opposite. So It's like this, like a pendulum swinging of, the way that the funding within EOS was set up was actually really incentivizing people to stay closed and build things just to get credit for themselves. Where now the whole way that funding flows through the community is actually encourages collaboration. And we're seeing it. It's working. It's like every season.
Like, that sounds great as a theory, but like watching it actually start to bear fruit has to be really fun.
Yeah. No, it's been, and I think that's been one of the coolest things I've noticed. Besides, every now and then getting somebody who raised money in Pomelo reaching out to me in a private message saying, Pomelo saved our life. Like we were ready to close down. We couldn't, there was no funding for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had, we're working on something. We were running out of runway. And now, thanks to this, it wasn't a ton of money. We raised a few $1,000s, or some people up to $30,000 or $40,000.
Sure,
that's enough to get us over the next quarter for the next season of Pomelo, and keep us alive.
That's awesome.
So it's the collaborative atmosphere that's emerging, and just like devs being able to feed themselves and keep working on what they care about.
Yeah.
And again, seeing participation grow every season. The matching pool was smaller in season 3 than it was in season 2 by quite a bit. We had like a $900,000 matching pool in season 2. Then the whole crypto market crashed. A big dip in the price. And as a result, the budget that the ENF has to be able to put towards stuff like the matching pool shrinked equally.
Yeah.
So the matching pool in season 3 was only $350,000. Still nice, but compared to season 2, it's quite a bit of a difference.
Right.
I was curious, what's that going to mean for participation? Are we going to see less people applying for grants? Are we going to see less people donating? That wasn't the case, which was really encouraging. We had more donations in season 3 than in season 2. We had more people apply. We had more people get approved. So again, the momentum continues to build, even despite the market conditions, which is, just imagine how much more momentum there would be if the market was, going the same way.
Well, and when, right? Like, I think it seems to me anyway that it's pretty inevitable that, the market will turn. If it's following the Bitcoin cycle, it's going to take, a year and a half, couple of years, whatever. Like some of us have been through this before. Yeah. There's always a possibility that the Ethereum flipping happens or whatever. Who knows, right? Like we'll see. But it's sort of inevitable that is the case. So it just makes sense to do that. Yeah, I think anyone that could build any kind of momentum. So the fact that you guys like clearly have it in what's pretty obviously the crypto winter now. Yeah, that gets really, really exciting because if you can maintain that at any pace over the next 18 months. You're set up to attack the bull run, like it's your job, which is just that's super exciting.
Yeah, and I think the EOS community is the most resilient community, Web3 community I'm aware of. Like we're the folks that are still here, who have been here from the beginning, are not only have we gone through crypto winters, like EOS itself was a winter even when there were bull markets, right?
Yep.
So that the teams building within the EOS have gotten very good at driving value with very little resources. Really scrappy, entrepreneurial, passionate. The people are here because they believe in what we're doing, and they want to see, that change. They want to change the world. They're not, if you're in the EOS community and you didn't leave, like you're not here you weren't here for the money. You were here because you really believed in what we were doing, which is not the case in a lot of other blockchains.
Right? Most, frankly, right? Like, everybody wants some number go up, and like, I'm not immune to that, right? But the thing that really got me about EOS in the first place was like, wait a minute, this could be a new way for human beings to collaborate. And that got my attention. I think that's, originally why it was so, attractive to so many people and created so much momentum for those who shall not be named. But the fact that like people just stuck around, it refused to die. Like even on Twitter or whatever, the EOS community that's left, like I freaking sold for a while, and I was like, yeah, I got other stuff to do or whatever, right? these people just refuse to quit. And of course, I think when the more I talk to you and people that are doing block producing still on EOS, and obviously with what Eve and Pomelo and the EOS Network Foundation, and now just straight up forking to Antelope, it feels like the dream itself refused to die.
Yeah.
And now it's actually going to get realized, like the history and the past of it, and the fact that some corporate interest didn't make it work, whatever, like it's still going. Like there's that scrappy crew of people that just refuse to let it die. And I'm realizing while I'm saying this that I just told the Uplift story as well, which is fun. God damn it, it's been a year.
And we're a little behind because of it, but I think in the end, we're stronger because of it. Like,
I agree, 100%. Right, like that. The idea that. Sorry, go ahead.
What other blockchain, maybe besides Bitcoin, is not led by some founding team? It's actually truly community led.
Right.
And if all of Block One's promises went the way they did, we would maybe have still been dependent on them. All these years of waiting for Block One to do something. If they were doing stuff, maybe we would be still just yay, Block One leading the way.
Probably right.
And now it's like we were forced to become independent, which again, it would have been nice to have more funds flowing to the community from an earlier stage.
Right.
But the fact that we survived that lack of, that drought, and become again, now the community has become more resilient. And now I think we're in a really interesting position. And again, comparing us to the rest of the ecosystem, all the other Web3 communities, and we're I would say the most independent, most resilient, and again, some catching up to do. But I think the momentum we have is accelerating, and I think it's not going to take long for us to catch up, given what we got going on.
Yeah, I really agree. And Roger, we'll get to your question in a second here. I think there's an interesting story that sort of sits really easily in my imagination, frankly, about the fact that it had to go this way. Right, what you were just saying about like if Block One had kind of done what Bunny Ears the right thing,
right,
and funded everything or whatever, would it have forced the creation of something with that collaborative thing, or would it still be the block producers siloing and just different versions of vote buying and yada yada yada, right? Like that the idea that there's just forcing functions that have produced basically squeezed out the other side of this amazingly hard filter is the vision. Like that's all that's left. And the fact that you guys are realizing it is just awesome. So Roger said probably a dumb question. It's not. But what's the relationship between EOS and Wax?
Sure. So EOS and Wax both share the same open source operating system, if you want to call it, what's running the blockchains that these communities are using. Formerly called EOSIO. Recently, there was a rebrand to Antelope, and EOS was the first blockchain to launch using this software. And following the snapshot of the EOS token sale, that the big $4 billion ICO that happened in 2017, Wax took that. It's open source software. The Wax team took that software and launched their own chain with their own token distribution, but it's sharing the same core underlying technology. And now with Block One getting essentially, even before they got fired from the EOS community, they had already stopped developing this core software. So there is a bit of this existential situation, not just for the EOS community, but all of the blockchains that are running this software: Wax, Telos, UX, EOS, Ultra. These are all blockchains running on that same tech stack. that was now at risk, or actually already what we saw is no longer being maintained by the core software developers. Block one, they stopped doing bug fixes. Every bug report that we were submitting was just going unimplemented. They were building features for this software that nobody was asking for because they were making it tailored for bullish. So again, the EOS community kicked them out, and one of the first things that the EOS Network Foundation in EVE did was start the process of forming a coalition with the other blockchains who are now in the same position with, wait a second, we're dependent on this technology. And if we want to continue progressing, we're going to have to keep updating this. We need to keep innovating, building new features, fixing bugs. And the one team who was previously doing that stopped doing it. So now we're in a coalition with EOS, WAX, Telos, and UX, meeting weekly, pooling funds together, hiring the devs to continue developing this core infrastructure. So our interests in a way are, while we're sort of competing different communities with our own blockchains, at the same time, our interests are very much aligned, and we all want to see this software progress and get better, and we're all using it. And so there's this new era of collaboration between these different chains. So we talked about at the beginning of the new era of collaboration within EOS. It's also actually a new era of collaboration across chains, where before there was a lot of like tribalism, a lot of hate between, in particular, EOS and Telos. I remember there was a lot of, we didn't like each other. And then now,
and that's an outgrowth. You don't have to look very far to find that tribal sense with every chain project, whatever, right? Like when Jimmy and I started talking, kind of ruthlessly, like, we're chain agnostic. Oh, but like, weren't you guys all wax? Like, yeah, like 90% of our stuff is on wax. We're gonna be everywhere, right? Like, we're gonna be completely changed. So, and this is, I keep going back to, the sort of the starting position you guys are in, right? There's so much going on already, and so many people don't know. Like, there was one post I saw on Twitter, the Ethereum merge is happening or happened, or whatever, right? They're moving away from proof of work to proof of stake. Cough, because EOS made it work. Right? Like, it's an interesting little thing they're doing, but there's like this sentiment that people that are kind of tangentially sort of have seen the situation and like scoffed at NFTs because Ethereum is so energy intense and whatever, right? Like, oh man, like Ethereum is dropping its energy requirements by like an impact on the environment by 99%, and like instantaneously, like, have you seen EOSIO at all, or like right? Like, people don't know, and so how much more how many more kind of data points like that, and like the fact that, like, I got an offer early on. I was talking to Engine about building Uplift with them on Ethereum, and I flat out said there's absolutely no way, because we can't do microtransactions, right? It was already on wax, it was already NFTs. Like, it was ludicrous to think about that. So getting to the point where the narrative, I think, is gonna mostly write itself, but I'm excited to see everybody start shouting it from the rooftops to go to different projects that are out there. I know Wax is talking a lot of brands and yada yada, but like, when people understand that the infrastructure on the EOSIO family of chains is, I would imagine, already much more capable than what Ethereum and its sister chains is capable of doing, but it's only going to probably grow exponentially, right? And so like that creates that influx where it's been a slog to get here, but you guys really are in a starter position that's I think pretty attractive.
Yeah, and it's getting only better. Like, so our software stacks are already compatible with each other across these Antelope, formerly EOSIO chains. So it's very easy to port what you built on Wax onto EOS, because again, it's the same thing. One of the things, there's a few interesting things coming out of the coalition and the work that the ENF is doing for EOS, one thing I'm really excited for is IBC. So the UX team, won a bid recently, and it's one of the top priorities of the coalition.
Can you tell everyone what IBC is?
IBC stands for Inter-Blockchain Communication. So, imagine being able to transfer your Wax NFT to your EOS account seamlessly and trustlessly, actually. A lot of the way that IBC is done in other chains is like with these bridges that you have to trust the bridge. Yep. And if the bridge is hacked or failed, then like you're screwed. You lose your assets.
That's like the Axie Infinity Ronin hack that was like what, $600 million or something like that was through the bridge account, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's been many examples of bridges, getting pwned, and all the assets as a result that had been transferred through them, they're gone now. The beautiful thing about this solution is that it's core to the, rather than being like a third-party smart contract thing, it's actually part of the core protocol. And rather than trusting a smart contract, you only have to trust the chain itself. So as long as you trust the block producers on the chain that you're transferring to, and that's basically it's base layer IBC.
Yeah.
So unlocks all sorts of exciting things. Like one thing I'm looking forward to is, we talked a little bit about Pomelo earlier, and how we've seen a lot of collaboration expand within EOS, and we've seen on a different degree that collaboration expand across chains. I think IBC is just going to take that to the next level. We're going to, for example, maybe we'll be able to accept Wax and Telos and UX donations to Pomelo. So, put up a grant for your Wax project on Pomelo and have your community donate Wax tokens, and IBC is going to make that possible. While it's still running on, the smart contracts for Pomelo are all running on EOS, we're able to accept tokens from all the chains that support this IBC feature.
Yeah.
Another exciting thing that's coming is EVM. So again, we're already compatible among each other within the, the EOSIO Antelope silo. What if we can be now more compatible with EVM chains? And you talked about, Ethereum is they're transitioning to proof of work. Even after that transition, from what I think, EOSIO to Antelope is still the better technology, still more scalable. And again, there's going to be, by having EVM, now there's an opportunity for these projects that had tried building something like the Uplift and realized, wait a second, we can't do microtransactions.
Yep.
Easily doing what you can right now be doing between Wax and EOS. They can take their Ethereum smart contract, put it on EOS EVM, and now they're benefiting from that scalability, the super cheap transaction fees, and now you can do microtransactions on that app that you previously couldn't because it was running on Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of looking at the legacy dev hours that have been piled into EVM compatible Ethereum virtual machine, for if we didn't say that already, but like the EVM compatible stuff, porting it, being able to port it over instantaneously starts to look really, really, really attractive. And you know what this makes me think about the kind of the long-term goal that I think is on all of our minds when we think, okay, what does this look like 5 years from now? Maybe 10, right? All of the technology layer stuff is abstracted away. The user has no idea what chain they're on and they don't care, right? It doesn't matter. And it really feels like, the second that you can do IBC in a way that isn't, all the risk of that third-party contract and like all of those assets effectively just sitting in an account, right? So being able to do that in the blockchain, like if you trust the blockchain at all, you should be able to trust the IBC because it's at that layer, which is awesome. Like that's unbelievably awesome, right? So all the chains can talk to each other, but then all of the different kinds of smart contracts can talk to each other as well.
Right.
You're just sort of set up to, achieve the network effect that really gets, escape velocity, right? Like now all projects have, a huge vested interest to, get connected to our ecosystem, and that just ends up benefiting everybody, right?
Yeah. And then again, now there's funding for the, so there's an incentive. Hey, Ethereum project, port your project over onto EOS EVM and then create a Pomelo proposal to fund the continued development of it. So there's like all these different elements that are coming together that really are like, enabling the acceleration of growth within all of these communities.
Yeah.
So awesome. Very exciting time. Very exciting time. And then on top of it, we got the big fork coming.
Right.
September 21st for EOS. And I know that other networks are following too. Again, Block One stopped developing EOSIO. The coalition formed, rebranded to Antelope, forked that code repository from Block One, put it on their own repository.
Mm-hmm.
Have for the past year been working on building the next version. It's Leap 3.1 is going to be the next version of Antelope. And on September 21st is when the EOS network is going to activate these new features with a consensus upgrade. So we're going to be, in a way, signaling to the world our independence, because for the first time, we're running on our own community-built software rather than Block One's old version of the software that they were building. So this is like, I see, September 21st as like a big, you can almost think of it as like EOS Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of that one final, okay, we're completely now cut the ties with Block One because we're not even using their software anymore. We're using our own version of the software forked from there. And again, this is a awesome effort by the whole coalition to rebrand and put the resources together to fund the developers. It's a lot of development work goes on. It's expensive building this innovative software.
Right.
So the fact that we have multiple communities joining forces to put that pool of funds together, because again, unlike most of the other blockchains out there, EOS in particular, we don't have a war chest from all of the funding from EOS comes from the community. Yeah, it's all from inflation. So our budget is limited.
Yeah.
And so having partners from other communities join forces is, I think, great for everybody.
Yeah, the network effect that comes from that, and really just the fact that Pomelo is working, right? That not only is it working, but you're increasing the amount of engagement, over each season. I mean, that's just I don't even want to use the word bullish anymore. It just, that word feels tainted.
Yeah,
it's it's really awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man. Well, awesome sauce. Is there anything else that you guys have going on? Anything else coming up that people should hear about?
So we talked a little bit about the fork, the consensus upgrade. I can share a little more details. Like, if you are running a node within EOS, make sure you're prepared. I guess a little call to action, because this is a consensus upgrade. Anyone who's not upgrading their nodes before that date basically stop syncing with the network and their application stop running.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're somebody running either an application on EOS that relies on a node that you're running, or you're an exchange, or you're a block producer, make sure you get yourselves upgraded before September 21st. And just big shout out to everyone. Again, this is a huge, because of that fact that, hey, this consensus upgrade has big impacts to people who are already running on the network, requires mass amount of collaboration across teams.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs to be aware this is coming. Everyone needs to know what they need to do. We have to have a good sense of, hey, is everybody ready? So I think we just had our 31st weekly. We've been since February 9th, I think, was our kickoff call, where we meet every week to just prepare for this upgrade. And we get usually 25 people joining these calls every week. coming every single week for the last 31 weeks. A mix of block producers, developers, community members. We got the EOS support team. This is like a new function that emerged in the EOS community, which has been amazing, acting as a single point of contact, supporting anyone with questions and sending out all the communications. And so we've gotten really organized, and yeah, a big day, September 21st, to look forward to, and we're kind of seeing this as a all this work that went into getting organized for this upgrade is now going to enable us to do it again for the next one. We're not just upgrading to Leap 3.1. We're building the mechanism to be able to keep upgrading rapidly, frequently.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so looking forward to the next upgrade, and hopefully we're going to see more innovation coming faster, and so that's exciting too. What else? Any questions on that?
I don't think so. I mean, that to me, the idea that, and I'm not surprised by this because I've seen how you guys have been doing stuff, that if you have to do it once and there's a chance that you can do it more than once, you're not organizing, you're creating systems, right?
Yeah.
So and those systems, once embedded, get it just means the next one's going to be that much easier. But you still have the room to iterate and learn or whatever, right? Like that puts you on a trajectory of growth, frankly, right? Like that gets tacked on to everything else that's going on. That's definitely something that we just never could have seen under block one. Didn't even get hinted at.
Yeah.
So again, like not only is the dream alive from an extremely resilient community, but now the trajectory is clearly set, right? And tracking this throughout the crypto winter into the next bull run is going to be super exciting.
Yeah. And I've been, so this is my second consensus upgrade I've participated in. We had, the last time we did a consensus upgrade on EOS was in 2019, September 2019. It's been a long time since we've had an upgrade require this level of coordination. Circumstances have changed quite a bit. I was the project manager both for that 1.8 upgrade 4 years ago and now this Leap 3.1 upgrade. And again, with this new era of cross-chain collaboration, now I'm taking this experience and knowledge and helping, for example, Telos. Telos is going to also want to upgrade. And there's a lot of common, myself and a few block producers who are involved heavily on, shout out to EOS USA and EOSphere, who've been heavily involved in that upgrade for EOS. We're all block producers also on Telos, and we're kind of taking this system that we prototyped on EOS and moving it over now to Telos to help facilitate their upgrade. So there's, again, a lot of learning that is being shared across communities, systems, and again, we're all using that same tech stack. So it's there's a lot we can learn from each other. And so again, we're going to upgrade EOS, then we're going to upgrade Telos, and I know Wax is planning on following along with the upgrade too. So yeah, it's exciting times, and so that's been keeping me really busy lately.
Right.
The post season 2 analysis season 3 now. Season 3 analysis for Pomelo has been keeping me really busy. And
so when you say post season analysis, what does that entail for you?
Sure. So for those, maybe I can give a little context on Pomelo, the way that it works for those maybe less familiar. It's a crowdfunding platform that leverages quadratic funding. And what quadratic funding is here's the way Pomelo works in a nutshell. Anyone can create a proposal to raise money on Pomelo as long as it's approved as a public good. We talked a little bit about public goods at the beginning. Basically, it's anything anyone can access for free, and by accessing it doesn't limit someone else's ability to access it. So things like open source software, educational content, free public art, all good examples of public goods. long as you qualify as a public good, you can have an app or a proposal up on Pomelo. The way that you raise funds is you get people to donate to your project, and those donations get matched from a matching pool. So currently the primary matching partner for Pomelo is the EOS Network Foundation. I've mentioned in season 3, they put $350,000 in our matching pool, and every donation that goes to a grant gets matched quadratically from the matching pool. And what that means is we're not just factoring in the value of the donation in the match, we're factoring in the number of donors that donated to that grant in a way where, for example, $101 donations to a grant will get a way bigger match than if just one person donated $100. So in both cases, same amount of donations went to a grant, but that grant that had wider community support is going to get a way bigger piece of that matching pool pie. So you can consider your donations in Pomelo more like votes.
Right.
You're putting a little bit of money towards that grant that you want to support, but the majority of the funds they raise is actually going to be coming most likely from the matching pool, not from the individual donations they receive. That presents, though, an interesting challenge because now there's an incentive to, we don't have unique IDs on blockchains.
So you could just bot it.
Anyone can create as many accounts as they want. And, one person can pretend they're 20 people and they can create a grant and all donate to themselves and, milk the system essentially.
Yeah.
So after every season, what we do is this analysis period where we're analyzing the patterns in donations. We're analyzing on all kinds we get the community participating, reporting suspicious activity. We've got, our team looking at the, almost like token analysis, looking at the path that tokens are, we see that this donor created, just by looking on chain with EOS Detective is a tool we built that you can see, okay, there's 20 accounts, but they all got funded by one source of funds. So it's one person. And so what we do is we adjust the matching allocation based on those findings. Either we, if it's conclusive that there was the person who created that grant was malicious, they get disqualified. Sometimes it's not so obvious. We can't necessarily prove that this behavior is linked to the person who created the grant. In those cases, we'll just collapse those donations. We'll say, okay, these 10 people who all really look like one person, let's just count them as one person. And then that doesn't leach it doesn't fudge the quadratic algorithm.
Right. Is there any thought or movement towards using identity verification to sort of be a pre-qualifier for voting?
So we've got we're trying as much as possible to keep it as accessible to everyone. There's different places in the world, the different ID standard, we don't want to have to KYC every single donor.
Right.
We do KYC the grant owner. So in order to claim your matching allocation, there's a KYC process you go through. We want to keep the barrier pretty low for donors, but we are doing things like, so we have this concept called the trust bonus, where you can so to create a Pomelo account, it's a social login. Log in with Google or GitHub or Weibo, and so that's sort of there's an element of uniqueness there. You link your blockchain account to that, and then you can layer on, kind of prove your uniqueness by linking more and more social accounts. And we also have this great feature called Port, built by the Zero Pass team. Actually, they got funded through Pomelo in season 1 and 2 and again in season 3. And they built a solution called Port that allows you to anonymously prove that you have a unique passport. So they have a little app you download, you tap with your NFC. Every passport has a little NFC chip in it. It's got a public key. Those public keys are unique. And so you can, again, that's another trust bonus you can layer on and prove that you have a unique passport. Doesn't mean you're necessarily a unique person, because you can have 5 passports sometimes,
Right.
but it raises the,
it makes botting it with 1,000
makes,
bots pretty hard.
Yeah. And,
or at least expensive.
Yeah. And it's not, again, the trust bonus isn't a mandatory thing. So you can donate without doing any of this trust bonus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what the trust bonus does is actually we boost the value of your donation the more you boost your trust bonus. So, someone who doesn't have a trust bonus, their donation just counts as whatever they donated. I donate 1 EOS to this project. We count that as 1 EOS in this matching out in the quadratic funding algorithm. If you got a trust bonus, let's say you boost your trust bonus to 150%, we'll count your donation as $1.50 instead of $1. And the more and more people who boost their trust bonus, again, it doesn't prevent Sybil, but it reduces the value they're able to extract by basically kind of diluting their votes. By the more real people we have participating with high trust bonuses, the larger of a share of the matching pool those donors are going to impact, which means there's a smaller pie for those bad actors to take. So it doesn't eliminate it, but at least it reduces the risk.
Yeah, that feels kind of elegant to me, frankly, because you're not sort of making a hard and fast rule around it. You're just putting incentive on creating even one little extra step. But it's something that is incentivizing that, you are probably a significant percentage more likely to be like an actual single person following along with things. So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So we're continuing to experiment with that, continuing to tweak the variables and add more trust bonus options so that's one way that we're defending. So we got our analysis, we've got sort of the things we put in place to allow people to sort of prove their uniqueness. We're learning a lot from Gitcoin. So, Gitcoin is a quadratic funding platform on the Ethereum community.
Okay.
They've also got this concept of a trust bonus. They are also a quadratic funding crowdfunding platform. They just started, I believe it's their 15th season. So they've been doing this for a few years now and have learned a lot on, how do you defend against Sybil? How do you prove uniqueness? How do you distribute funds democratically? So we've been, and we're fortunate to have a friendly relationship with them too. So, they know that we're building basically Pomelo modeled off of what they're doing on Ethereum, and we're watching very closely and learning. And at the same time, trying to innovate in our own way too, because the Ethereum and EOS technologies are different, communities are different. The capabilities, we're actually in some ways more advanced because of you mentioned how microtransactions and things like that on Ethereum are not feasible. Because we're able to do more on chain on EOS, we do. We're doing a lot of the calculations and we're doing a lot more on chain with Pomelo than they are on Ethereum, which in a way makes it more resilient, more options for the future. But again, we're learning a ton from just observing what's happening on Ethereum with Gitcoin. And again, the trust bonus is one thing that we learned from them as an interesting mechanism for limiting the Sybil. And what I mean by Sybil, again, that might be a foreign concept for some of your viewers. Basically, a Sybil means one person pretending to be lots of people,
right?
To screw with a system that depends on unique identities.
Yep, makes sense. I think everything in our most people in our community, I think, are sort of familiar with games getting botted or what have you. So it's sort of the same thing, right? Like just having 100 accounts and pretending that you're 100 different people. Is that Sybil problem.
And we're excited actually. So one of our core principles when we're building these technologies for, we're trying to really follow that Web3 mindset of open building blocks. So these Sybil defenses that we're building for Pomelo, right now we're building them for Pomelo, but I'm really looking forward to the day when others can leverage them too. We've built a kind of a single sign-on login solution. We're building technologies that maybe games, maybe we'll be able to leverage some of the learnings and the tools we're building to prevent botting on their games. It's the similar problem that we're solving.
Yeah, that's
in
cool.
the case of Pomelo, it's cool because there's a huge economic incentive for people to attack it. So we have a good, like we kind of treat each season as it's almost a game of, good guys versus bad guys, red team versus blue team. We've got the bad guys trying to extract as much value from the system as possible, and the good guys trying to defend it.
Mm-hmm.
And through that battle, we're learning and strengthening our defenses. So we're, with this incentive to come attack, we're strongly incented to defend.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, we're building these tools that, again, maybe a little game that doesn't have this economic, they're not as large economically. They don't have this big matching pool to come.
But that
steal.
tool set and that know-how is gonna be there. It's gonna be interesting too, because I think a lot of games like to say that they're against botting, but then they'll be publishing their total active player numbers, and they definitely count the bots, right? Like that, it's there's a sort of reverse incentive for them not to care about it. So I wonder how soon before it is a usable badge of honor, right? Like that, if you're using a system like this, you're going to want to promote it like crazy, just because you're for savvy people that have been in this space for a while, they're going to at least have the confidence that with some like provable results, you're going to have the ability to not be botted and yeah. Hey, TC, what's going on, man? You're going to want to start at the beginning of this one. It's some pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, exciting times for the whole community. And looking forward to season 4. That's the other thing, so we're wrapping up our season 3 analysis. And then right away now we're planning the next season. So we do Pomelo seasons every quarter, every 3 months. There's a new Pomelo season.
Mm-hmm.
So October, just around the corner, is when we'll be kicking off season 4 of Pomelo. Our 1-year anniversary of Pomelo is going to be coming up in November. So it's been a wild, awesome year of growth and learning over last year. And again, we went really deep in the season 3 analysis. We learned some new techniques and things like that we're now going to be coding into automating a lot of the stuff that we had to do manually in season 3 to automate, to detect more automatically. And again, increase the defenses against Sybil so we should see that, in season 4, we're going to be even more resilient against Sybil. We're going to have more features that are, we got some interesting things on the roadmap that I think the community is going to enjoy and make the experience nicer. And a whole new product coming soon too, called Bounties. That's part of Pomelo.
Okay.
Which, happy to talk a little bit about that.
Please.
I don't have any timelines I can share, but it's coming, not too far off. You can think of a bounty as almost the opposite of a grant. Instead of putting up an application requesting for money, you've got some work that you need done that you want to fund. So kind of like a Fiverr or something like that, but all built on a blockchain. So anybody can create a bounty, post up, hey, I have this smart contract I need built, or I need this artwork created, or whatever. And they can put some EOS on the table for it. We sort of act as an escrow. Anybody can come and say, I'll do that work. The person who put it up can say, yes, I approve you to do the work. Work gets done. Money gets released to the person doing the work. And there's a lot of synergy there with, because we've got a lot of teams with great ideas and prototypes getting built. They're putting up a grant on Pomelo saying, I'm going to build this thing. They get a bunch of funding. They got maybe a very small, scrappy team. And in order to deliver what they promise they want to build, they need help. So you can take some of that funds that you raised through Pomelo and your grant, put up some bounties for the things you need built, and crowdsource. So you're crowdfunding the funds and then crowdsourcing the development of the thing that you've crowdfunded. So it kind of completes that cycle for, you got everything you need to get funded and get it built on Pomelo. So
Right.
that's
Well, and
coming.
just you're making it simple to leverage the community that's already doing stuff. And again, it's like you're building systems for the upgrades, right? You guys are doing this behind the scenes for Pomelo yourselves anyway, all the time. That's what it is.
Right.
So it's sort of like one step removed to create or open up the architecture of that system so that everybody else can use it too, which is that's just awesome.
Yeah. So we're really excited about it. I've already been playing with. We got a prototype, early version that I've been playing with. So I'm excited. We still got some work to do, but that's coming. And so that's you can consider that almost a separate product tied into Pomelo, because there's no matching pool with bounties. There's no seasonal, bounties go on at any time. You can create a bounty.
Right.
Whereas with the grants, we've got that sort of seasonal cadence, a short period of time, there's a funding round, and then we analyze, and then we plan for the next season, and then we have another season. So, bounties will keep people busy all year long, whereas, grants are a kind of tight sprint, short sprint.
Right.
4 times a year. And again, season 4 is coming in October, and we've got kind of a cool feature coming in for that too, called collections. Brand new feature for Pomelo, where one of the things we noticed is, so again, we had 170 some odd grants in season 4. We expect that just going to keep growing and growing every season.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of, if you want to, as a donor, a community member who wants to participate in directing the funds to the best grants, that's a lot of grants to read through. And some people actually they literally read every single grant and try to really pick the best ones to put their money towards, and that's hard and a lot of work. And
right.
Sometimes you're not a technical expert, for example, like maybe you want to donate to this app that sounds really cool, but if you were a technical wizard, you'd read it and be like, that's not feasible. That's A, the network doesn't need this thing. B, I doubt that this can be pulled off. So collections is a way for kind of those experts, maybe in some niche, to put together their collection of the grants they would like to support. And then as a donor, rather than having to go through and read every single grant, maybe, for example, Aaron Cox from Greymass.
Yeah.
You really trust his judgment when it comes to what the network needs.
Yeah.
And he's put together a collection of his favorite grants. You can go look at his collection and just donate to his collection, rather than
it's basically like the
yourself.
Right? Like it reminds me of the proxies for block
Yeah, exactly.
producer
Yeah,
voting, right?
Exactly. It's like a proxy for Pomelo grants.
That's smart. That's good. And when's that coming out?
That we're expecting for next season. So season 4,
awesome.
which is coming in October. The team's working on that right now. So I'm feeling pretty confident we're going to have that ready for season 4, but don't shoot me if you know how things go with technology and things like that.
Oh, heard. No, I mean, and it's only a matter of time. Like if it doesn't come out this season,
right.
It's sort
exactly.
of
definitely by the next season. But I'm feeling pretty good for season 4.
Awesome. That's cool. All right, hey, listen. I got to rinse repeat before my next gig here. But Daniel Keys, CEO of EOS Nation. Thanks for coming on and chatting about Pomelo and all the crazy things that are going on there. And the 21st is when Antelope is going. I get like for most users, I imagine it's not really going to mean anything at all. Except that you're just going to be on a platform that is inherently cooler.
Yeah,
it's going to feel cooler.
If we do our job right, no one should notice. Everything
right.
should just go smoothly and keep running as usual. And then over time, these new features that are available, again, you're not going to see apps leverage them right away, but there's kind of awesome new features as part of this upgrade that over time you're going to start seeing the app developers leveraging. So hopefully you'll see the apps you're using getting better. But that's going to take some time. It's not going to be on September 21st, day one. Suddenly everyone's using all these new features. It's going to take some time.
I mean, I think at the beginning of the next bull run, it will have been very clear that, you know, what you guys are building now and over the next 18 months are going to be, you know, funneling and fueling just tons of really cool shit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, really excited for all this momentum. I'm more excited for our future than I think I ever have been. And I just can't wait to see what it looks like a year from now.
Right? Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Well, just keep coming back. I want updates all the time.
Anytime, Corey. It was awesome chatting. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, man.
Ciao.